Come on. Shoo! Welcome back to the channel, and today we are going to be doing something a little bit different, working on something new in the shop. So my neighbor actually just picked up a new side-by-side, got a little Kubota action. We'll go over some details here in just a little bit, but before I jump into that, we're gonna get a quick little lift in here, start our day off on the right foot, and then it's Black Friday, so we gotta go do some shopping. So we're gonna get this all rolling, and then we'll break into the Kubota and I'll show you what's going on.
Like you, be strong to hold the powers of the sun. To dream, believe in strength. Now I'm the only one, only one. I was an ordinary boy until I broke the rules my life destroyed.
Alrighty, got our workout done. We got our little bit of a protein shake here, so we're good to go. Like I was saying, we got to run into town and pick up some things. So since we moved out here, so my wife and I obviously got this house. If you saw a video probably about a month or so ago that I posted, we finally got out of the apartment and got ourselves a house with a little bit of land. And with that, I lost all of the stuff that my dad had that I kind of took for granted that he had in the shop. So I gotta slowly start building up all the stuff that I need. Kind of some basic stuff that I didn't really even think about were an oil pan, some shop towels, which if you work on your own stuff, you know that those blue shop towels, or like the paper towels, those things are paper gold. They are amazing for when you're working in the shop. So I gotta go pick up some of those. I need to get a torque wrench, like just basic things that you need if you're gonna be working on stuff. Alrighty, we are back at the house and we got the Kubota behind us. I think I mentioned it does not fit in the shop. And the reason is this freaking roof. So if you look, this is like the highest part of the cage, but there's still like 4 inches. Like look at that bracket in the middle. So that's how much it sticks up. And yesterday we tried to back it in and you can see the gouges in the roof. So I think I can pull that roof off and then it should fit back in the shop. And that's where I got all my tools and kind of all the stuff that I want to use to work on this. So we're gonna try to pull that roof off and then start it up. I'll show you guys how bad she's smoking and then we'll start digging into it. Alrighty, now we got the roof off of there. I'll show you guys a cool little feature. I'll show you how it all goes back, how it just was. But so the bed is a hydraulic bed. So if you have a bunch of crap back there, it's easy to lift it all out. And then with all of this extra stuff right here, what you're able to do, right in here, you lift these 2 pins on either side, and this back piece will fold forward to the back of like the front seat. And then this bench seat in the rear also folds up. And then with these doors, you're able to extend your bed. So it almost, not quite doubles your bed length, but it goes to about here. So you have a lot bigger of a bed and more like a 2-seater side-by-side, or you can have it like this and it's like a 4-person or maybe 6 you could probably fit in there. So that's actually really cool how easy that is to convert. But we're gonna go ahead and start it up here, show you guys what's going on. I showed you, obviously it's got the hydraulic bed, and what I was kind of talking about earlier is if you literally just pull, so there's this little guy here, you pull that up, you gotta come over to this side, do the same thing, super quick and easy. And then this, it's got rails up top. It's probably easier with 2 people, but we're in the shop today. The wife is working in the house, getting ready for Christmas. So she's decorating. I probably need to just grease these, honestly. Grease these rails up and that thing will scoot really good. And then you just kind of do the same thing. It's got those little spots for the pins on either side. That little piece that you undo, same thing, drops up, goes back down into there. It's got a little rubber piece up here, kind of hold it in place. Then your bed or your rear seat folds up, latches into place there. So then you have complete access to the motor, the transmission, pretty much everything you need. And the one thing that's weird, I think the older models were all like this. They changed them on the newer ones. This is where your radiator is. So there's a little intake down below, and then right through here, there's an intake. But it's like, it's right by the rear tire. And the front tire, that's gonna kick stuff up, and if you're running through fields, it's just gonna clog that thing. So we're gonna pull that out, see if it's dirty at all, and just kind of work our way on the inside here. I don't know if the camera's gonna pick this up, but there, it does look like around the head down here, there's some leakage going on. It's not real bad, but I wonder if that's maybe partially where the head gasket could be going out. So probably gonna check that. We're gonna check the radiator, make sure fluids are all good, no oil in the coolant or anything. Then we'll just start digging into it from there. I'm really hoping it's just the head gasket. It doesn't look like it's gonna be too bad of a job on this thing to pull the heads. I mean, really, or the head, I guess. All you gotta do, pull the valve cover, and you're gonna have to pull your injectors. These are solid lines, so it's actually pretty nice. Shouldn't be too hard to pull these. Pull your glow plugs. Pretty much just taking apart the top end and work your way down, and then you'll just reverse the process to put it all back together. I'm gonna drain the oil first, get all that out. I mean, it definitely needs an oil change, so might as well just go ahead and drain that. I think we've got some new filters for the hydraulic, the oil filter, and transmission filter. So we'll probably swap those out. I don't know if we're gonna do new fluids. I need to talk to my neighbor, see if he wants to do that. But we'll probably flush the coolant and new oil change, head gasket, stuff like that. One other cool thing I wanted to show you guys on these. So with this being a hydraulic bed, it's got the piston here. So if you're working on these and say you disconnect the hydraulics or whatever, you don't want this big heavy bed coming down on you. So over here, they've got this little, I don't know if you call it a bracket or just a little piece of metal, and it just slides up in here and sits right there. But you disconnect your hydraulics and your bed comes down, this little piece will stop it from coming down and hitting you or doing whatever. So just a cool little safety feature that Kubota thought of. Show you one final cool thing about the shop. I finally got all hooked up. Got my computer hooked up to the big TV, or big-ish. So I've kind of got my parts manual up here, or the whole workshop manual. Pretty cool. Kubota has all this stuff already just displayed online for you, so you can literally go through anything and everything. I mean, it's got everything broken down. I mean, this is a 417-page document, so you could probably take that whole thing apart and put it back together just with this alone. And then they also have on actual Kubota's website here, and I'll link this if you guys have Kubotas. I'll link this all in the description in case you would need to use this for any reason, but they've got their assembly groups. So through here, you can go in and click and actually find like the whole parts diagram. So say you're messing with the crank or something, or taking apart the crankcase, open that up, and it's got all your parts listed over here on the side, and it's got your diagram there showing how it all goes back together. So that's pretty cool. Usually dealers and manufacturers make you buy those, and it's kind of nice. With this guy, we don't need to do that. It's all online. I almost forgot. I need a little bit of a pick-me-up today. So what I found is at Quick Trips now on the Kansas City side, you can get First Form Energy. And this is the Screamin' Freedom kind. So that's gonna help me get through this job here today. And that's pretty much it. Enough of me blabbering along. Let's go ahead and start taking this bad boy apart. Alrighty, we're gonna do a quick update here because last time I was in here working on the Kubota, my GoPro kept quitting on me. It's so stupid. These cameras are meant for like extreme conditions and crazy action, and yet they can't go below like 40 degrees or the batteries quit. I don't know why, but yeah, it literally, like the camera will start to say battery low, powering down, and then it just quits. It's so stupid. I had like 50% battery and it kept doing it and I was just tired of it. So I quit recording, but I'll do a quick kind of rundown of where we're at. So the exhaust is kind of blown out at the bottom there. So we might be getting a new one of those. I know you could probably weld it, but we don't really want to half-ass this one. So the radiator looks like it quit dripping. It was dripping last time. So I'm gonna still pull it out and see, maybe the bottom is a little cracked or something, see if we could fix that. But I do wanna show you guys one thing, and I've got the injectors out of it, so I'll show you on the table here. So the injectors have this fuel line that runs, it connects all three of them. Well, you can tell it broke off right here. So it's kind of stupid. Once these injectors are in the cylinder, or in the block, this part threads in. Well, the top of this injector also threads in. So like you can put this piece in, and then this kind of top half threads into the bottom half. Well, I went to go take this top nut off, and I don't know if it was seized on there, but it just rotated the entire injector, not just that nut. So then it broke off that fuel line that connects all three of these together. That kind of sucks. We got to order a new line for that. And then these two are the ones that snapped. This one actually threaded off. So these two snapped, which it unthreaded the top half of the injectors. So I'm going to go through and rebuild these, kind of just take them apart, clean them, make sure they're all put back together correctly. And hopefully if there's any gunk inside there, we'll get those cleaned up and running right. Obviously here I got all my head studs, and then just the little push rods and whatever else, all the lifters. So we're gonna go through, clean all this up. Luckily, when we bought this house, they left this desk, and it's kind of just a crappy desk. So what I think I'm gonna do is just use this. I'm not really afraid of getting it dirty and oily. I'm gonna use this as kind of my cleaning station, and then once I go through, clean all the parts up, I'll transfer it over here to my workbench. And then once we're ready to go and start putting it back together, we found the one pesky head stud that was still connected. It should be broke loose now. Oh yeah, there's coolant running out of there. That ain't good. Come on. Shoo! That ain't what you want to see. That is not good. R.I.P. Kubota. Hopefully that's the head gasket. The head looks good. I was looking at the block. I don't see any areas of foul play. Obviously you can't see around the front of it, but I don't see a ton. I need to get this cleaned up, get a good look at it all. Yeah, your oil's not supposed to be green. So we've got the head, and the gasket doesn't look brutal. I mean, it's obviously, it's gotta be bad, but there's a few kind of rough spots here and there. Here is kind of one of the spots I thought I saw some leaking going around when I had it still on the machine. This kind of corner looked like it had been leaking a little bit, and then down here, yeah, I think this might be where it was blown out, because this is actually already loose. So I wonder, and there was some oil around the block on this corner, so I wonder maybe it blew out on this corner. But we're gonna get this all cleaned up here and get a little bit better of a look at it when there's no real oil on it, and kind of see what we can see. Finally got some parts in the mail for the Kubota. I also got a little something over here for the Pro XP. So that'll be coming in the next video. But objective number one is to get the Kubota put back together and running. I gotta get this shop cleaned up. There's oil everywhere, there's parts everywhere. So really need to get this thing put back together, get it running right, and then I can start working on my machine again. I've got a few things ready to go for it. So transformation is getting ready to start on the Pro, but we've got all the stuff for the Kubota. So this is the old head, obviously. We ended up needing to get a new head, which is in that fancy little box there. I haven't even pulled it out yet to see what that all looks like. And then we ended up taking this exhaust, and it had a couple holes down here in the bottom. So I went ahead, sanded it up a little bit, and welded it just to kind of plug it up, and then threw a little bit of heat paint on it. So made it look a little bit nicer than it was. A new exhaust for this thing was like 250, 300 bucks. So figured it'd be a hell of a lot easier just to kind of paint it up and get it looking good. All I need to do now, I got to pull the intake manifold off, or the little intake, and then pull this. I think this is all just the water pump and thermostat assembly. So I think it's just a few bolts here on the edge, pull this off, and I think the new head comes with valves. So I shouldn't need to pull these off, but I'll have to pull these 3 studs and then pull the glow plugs out. And I think there's some little washers down in here for the injectors. Have to pull those out as well. And then we should be good to start reassembling. So we're gonna go ahead, unbox that new head, and start looking at what parts we got, and I guess start putting this bad boy back together. Alrighty, we are back. I don't even know where we left off. I feel like I've started this video 5 different times, and then something happens and I have to stop for the day. We're gonna be getting this head finally put back together. What happened last time, so this is the new head, and I've already got some stuff started to get bolted to it, and I'm pretty much ready to start getting the injectors, glow plugs, and honestly get this head put back on the motor and torque it down. But one thing we just had issues with, so this is a brand new head. Well, where this thermostat goes, so obviously it just threads in here, but when we got this head, it was literally, it had a plug in here. It was just like an Allen head plug, and I swear it was welded in there. Like, we could not get it torqued out. Like, it was in there solid. So we had to drill and tap that out, and then just kind of tap the threads again. I've got the rest of the parts here, so pretty much we just got to do everything in reverse order, get this all put back together. I need to start with the injectors, get those cleaned, and then get all of the torques, because there's kind of like the nozzle holder is what they call it, and then the rest of the injector. So there's like a nut on this part, I don't know if you can see that, and then there's a nut here that actually holds the fuel line onto the top. So I'm going to throw you guys on a quick little time lapse here. We're going to get these injectors put in there, and then keep the assembly process going. So we've got the injectors in there, and now kind of what I was saying earlier, these are kind of like a two-piece injector. So you have kind of your holder and then you have the rest of the injector. So you've got a nut on the holder part right here that you have to torque down. You've got this little piece here that you also will have to torque, and then there's a nut right here that'll go onto the top that's going to hold your top fuel line on there. And what I was talking about with Kubota's manuals, they've got everything online. So it shows you have your nozzle holder torque, you've got your overflow pipe nut torque, and then you have your nozzle holder assembly. So the assembly is going to be the entire thing that you torque with the bottom piece. So this number 7 is your nozzle retaining nut. That's going to be this assembly piece. So that's going to be 37 to 50 foot-pounds. And then we'll have number 1 is the nozzle holder itself. That is going to be your 26 to 28 foot-pounds. And then you have the nut on the top, which is going to be your overflow pipe retaining nut, which is 26 to 28 foot-pounds as well. So we're going to go ahead, get that all torqued up, and keep on rolling. So we did some thinking, and we checked the head, made sure the head was all level on the bottom, and it's definitely solid. Head gasket is good. This is obviously the new one. What I'm thinking is the issue, why it's kind of rocking back and forth, is so there's obviously like the little pins in the block that kind of keep the head centered. And I'm wondering if they're just sitting on this right now, and once I torque it down, it'll go over these pins better. It's not like 100% sitting down onto those. So I think it's just maybe a super tight fit. So I'm gonna put the head back on and then just slowly start tightening it and see if everything kind of goes back down into place how it should. And then we will go from there. One thing you gotta make sure on these head studs is it does require some oil on the threads. And it really says that in the manual. And then there is a torquing pattern on these, so you want to pay attention to that as well. And I can show you guys here in a second once I get all these started. And all of these are the same size and same bolt, except for this one here. I don't know why they give you this. It's a little bit different. It's got like a nut welded on or something. And then there's a thread on the top. So that one has something that'll attach to it at a later point. But you got to make sure this is the one that'll go up here. If you're looking at it from the intake side, it's the bottom right head stud. We're gonna go through, this is the torque pattern that is in the actual workshop manual from Kubota. So we'll go through, we're gonna go through the pattern first, just with the normal wrench, and then we'll go through with the actual torque wrench and get it the rest of the way. Alrighty, so now that they're pretty much snugged up, we're gonna take our torque wrench and do the same pattern. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, all the way around. You pretty much just, again, start in the center and you do clockwise around the head all the way out. And the manual says 47 to 50 foot-pounds. So we got it at 50, and we're gonna just go ahead and do that same pattern and get them all torqued up. So next steps, we've pretty much got either the injector lines we can put on. We've still got the bridge for all the glow plugs. This is just the oil drain plug, so I need to put that back in, obviously. But then we have all of the push rods and lifters and all of this fun stuff. So we are gonna have to adjust the valves, make sure those are set correctly. Since we did replace the head, it's good just to make sure that those are all adjusted right. I mean, hopefully they shouldn't be really that far off. So obviously the owner's manual, or the workshop manual, I think is what it's called, really shows you all of those specifications. One thing that you do want to make sure is on top of all of these valves, so you kind of have like a little cap that goes over each of these that the lifters will sit on. And that's what all of these little guys are. You really want to make sure you pull these off when you're doing this whole process. And that's going to go for really any motor, because those little caps, once you start taking stuff apart, they could definitely fall down into your motor. If you dropped one and it goes down into your, like where the push rods go, you're pretty much taking the entire motor out to get them. So you definitely don't want to do that. And then another thing, when you take your push rods out, make sure that you keep them in order. So I've got a little arrow kind of shown on this piece of cardboard. So the arrow goes forward. So that's how all of these push rods will get put back in place. And with these push rods, you really want to kind of look at where you're putting them down in. So there's a little cup down there at the bottom that they'll kind of sit down into. Almost feels like a little magnet grabbing them. So you want to make sure it gets down into that cup. Some of them will go pretty much straight down in there. Some of the other ones kind of, you got to feel around a little bit until you get them in the right spot. That last one doesn't seem to really want to go. There we go. Once you drop the lifters down, you're gonna have to pay attention because your push rods will not be exactly in place. So you have to get those all lined up so they're actually touching the or getting in the right spots on the lifters. You kind of keep working it down the bolts. That one's not quite on there. And I think we're all good. I think I've been calling these the lifters the whole time. I'd have to go back and look. Obviously these are all your rocker arms. Your lifters are down in here. So your rocker arm nuts, so you got these three, all need to be torqued 18 to 19 foot-pounds. And there's no real order on these. We'll just kind of start tighten them up a little bit, and then we'll go back in and torque them. That one's good. 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 And then I like to always go back, double check them. Okay, so next step will be to adjust the valve clearance. So it goes through, shows you the whole process on checking your valves. Long story short, intake and exhaust valve need to be 0.005 to 0.007, blah, 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 blah. So that is the clearance. We got to get our feeler gauge and then check that. We've got the valves all at the right clearance. We got the whole seal area here for the valve cover all cleaned up, ready to go. And we've got the new seal in the valve cover. I've tried to put it on a couple times and the seal keeps falling out. So I'm gonna try something. I took a little bit of grease and ran it around the inside edge that actually touches the valve cover. And I'm gonna see if that kind of holds that seal in there just long enough so I can kind of flip it upside down and get it on the head. And then we're gonna get that torque down, keep assembling the motor. And then we will have to torque these down. I'll have to go check the torque spec. It's probably not a whole lot on these little guys, but there is a torque on here. Alrighty, we are getting close. So we've got the motor all pretty much put back together. We got the lines back on. This one, I had to snip a little bit off. There's still a little bit of slack, and kind of down through here, there's still some. I don't love it. It's a little tight, but not too bad. It was starting to rip up here, so I snipped it and got it to where it wasn't ripped on the end there, but I think we'll be good there. Got the intake back on, all the lines. I am gonna have to bleed these since we had all of these off and all the fuel kind of came out. We're gonna have to bleed these, which once we start it, we'll just crack each one of these loose. You start with the farthest one and then work your way forward till all the air gets out. So we'll get that once we get this thing running again. We just gotta finish getting it buttoned up. So again, we got the intake. I gotta get a coolant line from here over to there. And then there's some brackets. Obviously I gotta get the exhaust put back on. But the hardest part, which was the motor, is back together. So we're gonna finish, get the intake put on, get the exhaust put on, and get the fluids in it. Well, she's running, so I think we're good. No smoke out the exhaust. There is a little leak right in here. I don't know if you guys can see that, but one of the injectors I think is leaking just a little bit. So we might have to pull those injectors out and put a new washer in there, which I just replaced those, so that's weird that that's leaking. I'll maybe try to go through and torque that back up, make sure it is completely tight, but I think we're pretty good. And we are finally concluding the Kubota video. I thought I was already done and started to edit this video and realized halfway through my outro, my GoPro shut off. So here I am filming my outro. And I just wanted to say thank you guys for sticking around with me on this one. This was a longer video. I'm actually not quite done yet. I am waiting on a replacement radiator. We found a crack at the bottom of it, which was causing a leak. And I also need to pull injector number 2 out and replace a few of the washers. I think it's leaking just a little bit. So we need to get that out, get it all buttoned up so there's no leaks, and then change the oil one more time. And this baby will be out of my shop for good. And then the Pro XP is finally gonna get some love. So I've got the cross member sitting over here on my shelf, and we gotta pull that out. We gotta straighten the frame at the bottom and get that thing rocking and rolling, so then we can start really tearing into it and starting the race build. So I'd appreciate it. You hit the like and subscribe button, drop a comment down below if you enjoyed the Kubota video, and we will see you in the next one as we deconstruct the Pro XP. Peace.